Thank you very much, Deputy Presiding Officer. I want to start by offering my sincere thanks to John Finney, and with it the full-throated support of the Liberal Democrat benches tonight for his legislation. I'm actually quite emotional. Members will know that I have spent my entire career prior to being elected to this place in children's rights. Over 2 decades, I fought alongside colleagues in Children First, Abelara, Bernardo's and others to end the physical punishment of children in this country. We have had setbacks and failure, but were it not for their grit and persistence, we would not be here today. And it was my great privilege to address them at a rally outside the Parliament this morning. On one occasion during that campaign 10 years ago, I appeared on Radio Scotland to debate physical punishment with an organisation opposed to change. Immediately after the programme finished, I got a call from my dad. He said, "You know, I'm really proud of you for helping to lead this campaign. I only ever hit you once. You were 2 years old, your mum was in hospital having your sister, and you wouldn't eat your dinner. You had a proper meltdown, so I slapped your legs. You turned around and you bit me in the face." He never hit me or my siblings again. Presiding Officer, I cannot remember a more deliberative process in a Stage 1 proceedings of any bill that I have helped to scrutinise. We've heard evidence from academics, parenting experts, religious groups and criminal justice stakeholders. I want to thank each of them and the parliamentary staff of our committee in the conduct of this process. The overwhelming conclusion that I believe that Parliament should arrive at tonight from the evidence that we received at Stage 1 is that we should join the ranks of the 54 countries who have extended the same protection to children in their societies as those enjoyed by adults. It is wholly wrong that children should be the only people in our society subject to assault without legal impediment. There is an international imperative for us to pass this bill as well. The United Nations persistently point out that we are not meeting our commitments either to the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child or the Convention Against Torture. We are one of the last remaining countries in the whole of the Council of Europe not to have brought about this change. Put simply, Presiding Officer, if we are truly to become the best country in the world to grow up, then we will forever fail in that aim for as long as we allow the physical punishment of our children. We will forever fail in our aim also to eradicate domestic violence in the home while we legally or culturally sanction any kind of violence in our society. And we shall fail in efforts to reduce violence in our streets in so long as we allow parents to teach children that violence is an acceptable tool of either sanction or anger. Because, Presiding Officer, we all know that children learn by watching adults. Dr. Lucy Reynolds from the Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health offered our committee empirical evidence to this reality in Bandura's Bobo doll experiment. This demonstrated that children shown a film of an adult picking up a toy mallet and whacking a clown doll in a room full of toys did likewise when they entered the room, whereas children who hadn't been shown the film did not. She concluded in evidence to our committee that, as she said, children learn by mimicry, and if you hit children, you are teaching them to expect either to dominate or be dominated through physical violence. Presiding Officer, my father realised that the second I bit him. Crucially, John Mackenzie from Police Scotland, giving evidence to the committee, backed that view up when he told us there appears to be a link between violence in the home and violence in wider society. I am not blind to the controversy this policy shift represents, but I have satisfied myself that not one of those arguments deployed holds water. We have heard from the Conservatives this afternoon that this bill amounts to an assault on the rights of parents. I will from Mr Fraser.
Murdo Fraser.
I'm very grateful to Mr Cole-Hampton for taking intervention. I listened with great interest to what he had to say. But would you accept that parents will discipline their children in a number of ways? They might put them on a naughty step if they're very young. They might exclude them from watching television or playing particular games, or they might ground them. None of these things would be acceptable if done to an adult. In fact, that would amount to domestic abuse if done in an adult setting. So why are our children different from adults in this respect?
Alex Cole-Hamilton.
I think Murdo Fraser rather trivialises this if he equates something like a YouTube ban to the physical assault of another human being. Yeah. I'm afraid I just don't accept that in any way whatsoever. We have heard from the Conservatives that this bill amounts to an assault on parents' rights, but nowhere nowhere, presiding officer, in treaties either international or domestic, is there a right for you to hit your children. We heard the concerns of many who talked about legions of parents being marched through the courts for normal parenting behaviour, as they describe it. But they have no answer to the reality that in countries like New Zealand or Ireland, who are comparable culturally to ourselves, they have virtually no additional prosecutions. Like the smoking ban, I need to make some progress. I need to make some progress. You didn't take mine. Like the smoking ban, such a change is not designed to criminalise, but rather affect a cultural change. And I was gratified that Police Scotland confirmed that they would only bring such charges if it were in the public interest to do so. However, the most persistent argument that we came up against, as in terms of arguments against a change in the law, can be described as the idea of protective punishment. It was used just on Radio Scotland this very morning, that if your child runs out into traffic or moves to put their hand in a fire, you need to retain the right to smack them so they can learn not to do it again. Can I reassure those people that none of the 54 countries to have ended physical punishment of children, none of them have experienced an uptick in child deaths on the road, nor have their paediatrics burns units seen a spike in admissions. This aside, the most compelling answer to their argument lies in the consideration of mental capacity. My friend, former Irish Senator Gillian Fan Turnhout, delivering this legislation in Ireland, told our committee the running out into traffic argument was used in Ireland. Someone on the radio helpfully gave the example, however, of her grandmother who has Alzheimer's. She said that she would not think to hit her grandmother if she ran out into traffic, so why would we choose to hit someone of similar cognitive ability but who was just smaller? Arla was basically saying you can hit someone as long as they are smaller than you. I agree with Gillian and every proponent of John Finney's bill, and I say once again, it is wholly wrong that the smallest people in our society should be the only ones that you can raise a lawful hand to, and I support his legislation.